to
I
Facebook.
see it. It said Rita is live now.
Okay, so we probably should stop talking and
Okay.
use the chat box. So let's mute ourselves. We should probably pin this to the top of the page.
Yes. Should
Evan,
I?
can you take care of that? So, okay, so we're live on Facebook now. So anybody who wants to share, the share button's right there. Go ahead and share away.
So I just shared it, but I don't see where to pin it. And I've pinned things before, but for some reason,
Yeah, why don't we use chat?
oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
We need to use chat because this is going.
Evan, can you help Kuhan? I've got like five other Facebook sites I'm trying to um, get going here right now. Oh wow, I didn't even have to press go live. It just went live. Cool.
I've started the recording, by the way.
Thank you.
It's 2 o'clock.
Wait, I would rather do it, Evan, only because I know that I explicitly am going to record to the cloud.
Okay, so
Um,
we'll stop.
yeah. Sorry, I'm not sure if it's going to go to your, local or if it's going to go to the cloud.
Yeah, not a problem.
Did you see the record button go live just now? Or no?
Yes.
Cool.
chopping down trees from Pahala to Powilo, trucking them down a road, spewing diesel, chipping and burning them in Pepe KO. Wow, this really stinks. 21.5 million gallons of water per day from the aquifer, and Hawk allows a high price to pay, 'cause that heated water's dumped in Hilo Bay. Pow! The Lima will die. Honua is dirty power, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Pumping greenhouse gases by the hour. This power is a breach of trust. Honua biomass plants got us concerned, 'cause if they play with fire, we're gonna get burned. They lost their case in the PUC. 22 cents a kilowatt is too pricey. It doesn't add up. Electric bills will increase. Ow! The truth really hurts. It's time to see through this biomass illusion. Power up with solar, wind, and hydro solutions. These energy jobs will have the right fusion.
I gotta go.
Before it's too late. Honua is dirty power. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Pumping greenhouse gases by the hour. This power is a breach of trust. Honua biomass plants got us concerned, 'cause if they play with fire, we're gonna get burned. When they play with fire, the island gets... Honua play with fire, 'cause we'll all get burned.
Hi, were you able to see that video? Did that video show? Kuhan? Hello, Kuhan, you're muted.
Hi, no, it was just a card.
Oh, you didn't see the video. Okay, well, why don't we get this started and I will recue the video again and we'll do the video after a few testifiers. Is that okay?
Okay, well, we're having a problem because we're getting double audio.
From me? Okay. Were you getting the video sound?
This is Elizabeth Hanson. Your video sounded great. Your audio sounded great on the song, but we didn't see any pictures.
Can we
Let's get the testimony
Yeah,
started.
why don't we go ahead?
And because we're live right now, so why don't we get the testimony started? I will cue up the video and we will insert it in as testimony along the way. Thank you.
Rita?
Nothing's on Facebook.
Well, aloha kako. We are sorry for the little confusion we're having. You know, this is the first ever live stream petition, so it's first for everyone. My name is Kuhan Pak-Mander. I am the coordinator of the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition. As I was saying, this is the first ever in the world live stream petition. It's directed toward the Public Utilities Commission for the state of Hawaii. Now, the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition believes in a livable planet that prioritizes both the economy and environment and labor altogether. We cannot continue going on as we had, where this old paradigm where it's all about bottom line, because that cuts out the people, the communities, the INA. Because we believe that labor and environment should be hand in hand and prioritized as such, we believe that nobody should have to work a job that harms their own health, the health of their family, or the health of our collective planet, our home. So the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition also is very inclusive. We believe that it's all about Native Hawaiian rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights. Everybody gets a voice at the table, and everybody in Hawaii's voice is a priority above the profit margin priorities of. I'm not getting audio, am I?
No, you're fine. We're hearing you.
So anyway, as I was saying, we've come here today, and sorry about the technical difficulties. This is the first time we've ever done this. We've come here today to from several islands, Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island, but most of the people come from the Big Island, where this Honua, the wood burning polluting power plant, is slated to be in operation. We are David to their Goliath. They have launched an incredibly aggressive and huge PR campaign, the sole purpose of which is to pressure the Public Utilities Commission to reverse their ruling of July 9th that basically said that Honua does not get a free pass out of competing competitively with other energy companies. That means it has to compete with solar on a level playing field, which is 1/3 cheaper and has no carbon emissions. So of course they don't want to do that, because they're going to spew 300,000 tons per year of carbon into the atmosphere and charge triple the amount of solar. They know they would never win the power purchase agreement. So we come here to say, no, they are not above fair play. We come here to thank the PUC for their ruling. And we come here to say, no big money corporation from out of Hawaii can come to our community and PR their way out of a perfectly rational, level-headed ruling by the PUC that takes the people and the Aina and the Vai into first priority consideration. That is our public trust. So here we are. There's over 30 of us here to say thank you, PUC. If anybody out there wants to write to the PUC, we are David and against Goliath. We need those letters of testimony. Send it to puc@hawaii.gov, and in the subject line, write docket number 2017-0122. Okay, so without further ado, let's listen to the petitioners and see what they have to say. First up, we have Jarek Medeiros. Mr. Medeiros Garcia, can you please state your name and where you're from? Thank you.
Aloha, mahalo everybody. My name is Jarek Medeiros Garcia, and I come from Makahanaloa. Makahanaloa is Pepe'ekeo, Hawaii. I live in that community. I'm a protector, I'm an advocate. I'm the chairman of the Shoreline Fishermen. I wanted to mahalo everybody that is on this panel for allowing me to speak today. And just mahalo you guys for being a part of it. We couldn't have done this with all of you guys, without all of you guys making this possible. It gives me great joy to just be a part of this bunch of people here. I want to mahalo the PUC for denying Honua. That's the only real break we really got out of all these years fighting these guys since November 2018 at the Department of Health hearing at Imiloa. That was a sham by the Department of Health. Number one, our people of our community was never heard. Their concerns was never heard. Yeah, so let me try that again. The community's concerns was never heard. But yeah, if you didn't hear me, I was muted somehow. But mahalo to the PUC for rejecting Honua. Um, our community of 1,600 people, their concerns was never taken into consideration by any politician that acted like they was concerned about it. They weren't. They supported it. That's why it's there. Um, as a community leader, it's been a long and hard fight. This is the best news we've got. The public trust has been lost. We need to get that back. There's a lot of questions that was never answered. You know, one of them would be the permitting process, which was never, they never went through the proper permitting procedures. Being that Warren Lee came from DPW, that is the only way they could have got the permits. There's no other way they could have gotten their permits because they would have had to done an EIS. And that was one of our main concerns in Pepequio, being a member, community member, resident in Pepequio. You know, in the past month and a half, 2 months, I have witnessed and I have footage of Honua burning, polluting our air, smoking out the community. People's health concerns was right there, man. We called 911. You know, we did everything we had to do to make sure that it was documented. And yeah, they were working under a Supreme Court order after the one and only Henry Curtis, Life of the Land. They did allow us to have Honua put under a Supreme Court ruling of not to work, and they were working all this time. So we do have all that documented. The Department of Health never allowed us our due process.
Okay, 20 seconds, please.
All right. Another thing is Honua never good faith to the community. They never communicated, no transparency of that place. We all didn't know how they got this far, but mahalo to everybody that has been a part of this. You know, mahalo to Hamakua, Malama Hamakua, Justice Warriors. You guys rock. Love you guys. Other than that, yeah, the drilling from 800, 1,100, 1,300 feet, craziness. You know, surprising that bank to blow out the cliffs and people's lives is at risk. They don't really care about their workers.
Okay, thank you, Jared. Can you wrap that up, please?
Mahalo, everybody, for your time. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Aloha.
Mahalo, Jared. We really appreciate. Okay, next up is David Hunt from Honua. Can you please state your name?
Aloha, my name is David Hunt, and I live in Honua. Honua is waging a public relations campaign full of half-truths, false accusations, and claims. What does Honua really want? Profit. The PUC's duty is to represent the interest of ratepayers, the residents of Hawaii, in utility decisions, not the interest of off-island private venture investors pushing this unethical, high-pressure PR campaign to salvage their ill-conceived investments. What does Honua really want? Profit. Honua's request for reconsideration should be denied based upon the facts of the case, not the pseudo-emotional false narrative PR campaign that Honua is desperately sinking to. What does Honua really want? Profit. Doubling or tripling our energy cost is not in the best interest of our resident ratepayers, regardless of how many petitioners Honua can garner by telling only half of the story. What does Honua really want? Profit. The investor owners are demanding special treatment, a waiver from competition, and government handouts, $100 million in corporate welfare from the government for this anti-competitive fiasco, with no concern about how much it costs our local ratepayers or how much it pollutes our local environment or destroys our world-famous landscapes or creates highway hazards or pits neighbor against neighbor. And what does Honua really want? Profit. We've fought Honua since 2005. We've opposed it and said it was a bad mistake. It's a bigger, outdated, more expensive mistake now. Honua Their decisions to blatantly forge ahead without the required permits and contracts in place was their greedy choice. But now they're attempting to blame and accuse the PUC and others for the consequences of their own entitled arrogance and bad choices. What does Honua really want? Profit. Constant logging, chainsaws, clear cuts, heavy equipment, nonstop logging trucks, polluted air and water, and double, triple, or quadruple our energy costs. This is all for the entitled millionaire, billionaire, non-local investors. What does Honua really want? Profit. Clearly, Honua wants to do this to Hawaii, not for Hawaii. I ask, we all ask, that you deny Honua's request for reconsideration. The facts of this case support denial of their motion for reconsideration. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Next up, we have Ku'ulani Muse. Ku'ulani, can you say your name and where you're from, please?
Aloha mai kako. My name is Ku'ulani Muse. I live in the Ahupua of Kahua with my husband, small children, about a half mile from Kui Kui Laumania, which is the old name of the storied cliffs atop which Honua is constructed. I wanted to speak today to thank the PUC for the sound judgment the commission exercised in denying Honua's special treatment through a competitive bidding waiver. As we all know, Honua has launched an aggressive campaign in protest of that decision with a focus on protecting local jobs. I recognize that the PUC is an independent commission and that it has vetted this matter to come to its decision, and that the PUC is mandated not to protect jobs at the Honua plant, but rather to ensure just and reasonable rates for Hawaii's ratepayers. I want to also take this opportunity to address the incredible impacts Honua will have on our water. As a Kawe'a Kane practitioner, these waters are sacred to us, kapu Kawe'i. As a mother, a member of this Kaiaulu, the sheer volume of water, of public trust resources Honua is proposing to use in their operations is staggering. We all know the figures, over 21 million gallons of water a day, the vast majority of which will be then pumped back after being thermally polluted into even bigger bodies of receiving waters, underground and in the ocean via a once-through system, the likes of which are being phased out across the continent for their huge strains on water resources. For too long, the story of this entire coastline, these kaka'i, has been one of extraction, of exploitation, of degradation. I completely reject that story, that narrative, and I challenge us all to work towards better solutions, to tell better, more beautiful stories of restoration, of mauli'ola. Again, I mahalo the commission for not allowing Honua a competitive bidding waiver, and I implore the PUC to hold fast in that decision. Aloha.
Mahalo. Okay, next up is Shannon Matson. Shannon, can you please state your name and where you're from?
Aloha, I'm Shannon Matson. I was born in Honoka'a, grew up in Kona. I'm currently living in Hawaiian Acres and the Ahapua of Ola'a. I want to say mahalo to all the organizers for creating this virtual space today for us to speak out on this issue. I firmly believe the PUC decision on Honua is so important right now, so timely, as our climate crisis and energy efficiency issues are going to continue to accelerate. We need to continue to make our community voices heard on this particular project and on other alternative energy options, which are going to be continuing to come forward at a greater rate. These sorts of projects will be defining our entire economy and environment for future generations, and we need to be making decisions that truly benefit the majority and take all considerations for the environment into account. Our community, we deserve clean and safe air, land, water, and energy options. Our workers deserve living wage jobs, safe and truly green alternative energy options. Honua was none of these things right from the start. And as we developed more and more cleaner and greener alternative energy solutions, we needed to be able to adapt to those options, and our community really needs to support those instead. Burning anything will never be viable. It's not a clean option for energy, and our community deserves better. I'm so grateful for the PUC's decision. And right now, especially in this time of economic crisis, we need to consider all of the additional costs to our taxpayers and to our community. Long-term solutions, it's absolutely irresponsible for anyone in any sort of leadership position to be advocating for more costly energy solutions in our future. So therefore, I believe the PUC was doing a great service to our community, and they were really doing their jobs in ruling against this waiver. And I want to mahalo again the PUC for really putting our environment and the future economy and energy options first. And let's all keep reminding them how grateful we are for their decision, and stay vigilant for all future options to support truly clean, safe, affordable, and green energy for everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you all for being here and taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Next up, we have Kawai Kapuni.
Aloha. My name is Kawai Kapuni. I am 17 years old and reside in the Ahupua'a of Ulupalakua, Maui. I'm in opposition to Honua's efforts. Their intention to burn trees as a so-called renewable source is not only costly, but disrespectful and destructive to our aina. Honua's plan to create renewable energy will increase carbon emissions in Hawaii, which will have a disastrous effect on our entire ecosystem. For too long, the people of Hawaii have suffered from corporations having the upper hand on native land. The people of Hawaii will always strive to be progressive, and Honua is nothing but a blockade to our sustainable efforts as a community. And I mahalo you for listening to my testimony.
Mahalo, Kawai. It's great to see the young people getting involved, because it's our future, but it's especially your guys' future. So mahalo nui. Okay, next up we have Jack Zimmerman. Please state your name and where you're from, Jack.
My name is Jack Zimmerman, and I live in Honuka'a. I've been on the board of the Hamakua Youth Foundation for many, many years, and I'm the president of Friends of Honuka'a Pool, and we've kept the pool open for decades now through community efforts. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to have another community effort to take a deep look at the project that is called Honua, and I'm very grateful to the PUC for their decision of July 9th. It was a wise decision, because the kind of power that Honua is offering is not competitive. Solar and wind power are much more inexpensive and also do not pollute. If you look carefully at the physics and chemistry of burning wood to create energy, it doesn't work. It simply is not a viable alternative. I live among those trees that will be cut down, and the replenishing, it's not energy renewable. That is a fiction. It's a one-shot kind of deal that is against climate protection. And there's nothing more important in our world now. There's no future without the protection of the climate. And this is not a viable solution. It's not one that arose organically in the island. It's not supported by the people who live here. And there are many, many, many reasons. The basic energy production is not, it doesn't work. The rates are at least double, if not triple, the rates for solar and wind power, particularly solar, which has made great strides now with battery opportunities. There is pollution in the Honua concept, pollution of the local water and the water table. There's pollution in the ocean. There is considerable challenge about traffic carrying the trees on a major highway, the Belt Highway that connects Honuka'a with Hilo and goes around the island. So from a point of view of the efficiency, it doesn't work. From the point of view of cost, it doesn't work. From the point of view of climate change, it doesn't work. And we are so grateful for the PUC's decision and urge you as a community deeply to hold fast with your decision of July 9th so that we can have carbon-free power that serves the community, not serves the profits of a large corporation. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm delighted that we can do this, and mahalo.
And mahalo to you, Jack. Thank you. I know you live in the vicinity, like so many of us, of Honua. And this isn't just about not in my backyard. This is about not on my planet. This is affecting the climate for all species. There were two testifiers that couldn't make it today, Sherry Thal and Tanya Yamanaka, but they created a video, a musical video as their testimony. Rita, can you please cue that up?
Yeah, hang on, why don't we put it in farther down? I need a little bit more time to get it going. So can
Okay, no problem. Just let me know. And
yeah, okay.
Our next speaker now will be another Honoka'a resident, Phaeton Keeney. Phaeton.
Aloha, everyone. Aloha, esteemed members of the PUC. Thank you for your decision against giving Honua special treatment. My name is Phaeton Keeney. I'm here in Honoka'a, and I'm surrounded by those trees. I just want to talk a little bit. You know, I'm from Honoka'a. I've known and loved the Hamakua Coast and its wonderful people all my life. We deserve better than Honua. I applaud you folks for supporting all the ratepayers of Hawaii Island and caring for the land, and good jobs with your decision to stick with competitive bidding. We all know that Honua just can't compete. They're an outdated, aggressive foreign business waging a massive PR push, pitting saving Hawaii jobs against saving Hawaii Island ratepayers and the Aina. But many in Hawaii know better. The state motto says it all. We know that if we conduct ourselves with integrity, care for the land and the people, the best way will show itself. Our hearts know, as the youth know, that clear cutting and burning trees is not okay, especially not on steep hillsides with communities and roads below where there's been no EA, no EIS, and no sustainable management plan to replant exists, and there are better uses of those trees. No one wants to live or invest in a brown, torn up, dried up, smoky, traffic-ridden community where once there was the green home of endangered species and crystal clean waterfalls. If left to stand or harvested safely and sustainably, the Eucalyptus grandis is a valuable hardwood that could help create more jobs and sequester more carbon in the long term for a local, ethical, carbon neutral future with products we can be proud of. In this tumultuous time of economic uncertainty due to COVID, it's important to create jobs that do not impoverish or impact the well-being of the whole island and planet for decades to come. Right now, solar, wind, and wave plus storage is just less costly for everyone, for our pocketbooks, the land, and future generations. And I really want to thank you for your decision to save us from Honua. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Phaeton. Thank you. Okay, we're ready for that video now. Right, Rita?
Chopping down trees from Pahala to Pauilo, trucking them down a road spewing diesel, chipping and burning them in Pepe KO. Wow, this really stinks. 21.5 million gallons of water per day from the aquifer at Haka allows a high price to pay, 'cause that heated water's dumped in Hilo Bay. Pow! The lima will die. Honua, all that is dirty power. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Pumping greenhouse gases by the hour. This power is a breach of trust. Honua biomass plants got us concerned, 'cause if they play with fire, we're gonna get burned. They lost their case in the PUC. 22 cents a kilowatt is too pricey. It doesn't add up. Electric bills will increase. Ow! The truth really hurts. It's time to see through this biomass illusion. Power up with solar, wind, and hydro solutions. These energy jobs will have the right fusion now, before it's too late. Honua is dirty power. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Pumping greenhouse gases by the hour. This power is a breach of trust. Honua biomass plants got us concerned, 'cause if they play with fire, we're gonna get burned. When they play with fire, the island gets burned. Don't let Honua play with fire, 'cause we'll all get burned.
Whoa, we will all get burned. Thank you so much, the singing lobbyists. All right, so that was a very worthy replacement for their live testimonies. Thank you, girls, ladies, women. Okay, next up, we've got Ryan Christopher. Ryan, where do you live, and state your name, please.
Aloha, my name is Ryan Christopher. I am a resident of Honoka'a. I am here today to show my support for the PUC's recent ruling that denied Honua an exemption from the competitive bidding process. What message would be sent to our community if we begin to exempt businesses from the competitive bidding process at the consumer's cost? Honua's electricity is going to be significantly more expensive than other projects coming online soon. Honua has yet to provide anything, to my knowledge, that would justify the consumer paying more than twice the rate for their power over other less expensive alternatives. Presently, Honua has appealed the PUC's correct ruling. What has changed since that ruling? Honua has not presented any new facts or evidence that should change the PUC's previous decision. The only change since that ruling is an expensive media campaign by Honua to try to buy political and community support. I have personally seen and heard their misleading TV, radio, and social media commercials that attempt to delude the public into believing this is about jobs and community. They are forced to do this because it is evident that they cannot overturn this decision based on facts and finances. Thus, they are forced to work people's emotions. While I am genuinely compassionate to the 38 current employees who Honua employs, we cannot make decisions that negatively affect the entire population of this island solely to generate 38 jobs. These are intelligent, highly skilled workers, and I have no doubt they could be employed on similar projects that are actually sustainable and renewable and help Hawaii reach its 2045 goals. Unfortunately, this project does not help Hawaii reach its 2045 goals. Instead, it trades one dirty, inefficient source of energy production for another. Simply speaking, burning trees is caveman power. It is not the power that is going to solve our island's problems. I have been following Honua's progress for the last few years, going to many public hearings and constantly trying to learn more about Honua's plans and to form my own opinions based on facts. At these events, I regularly see that support for Honua is almost completely from its employees and people who stand to directly profit off its existence. Meanwhile, the people that oppose Honua are not being paid. They are taking time away from work and away from their families to stand up to something they know is harmful to the island and all its inhabitants, not just people. The people here today are not here giving you this testimony because they are paid or because they have something to gain financially from seeing Honua not brought online. I hope the PUC will keep that in mind while listening to the testimonies on both sides. I hope you all remain strong in the face of purchased political and community pressure that has been placed upon the PUC from Honua's deep pockets. I am a true proponent of clean, renewable energy that can be sourced locally and is not dependent on, on outside forces and creates jobs for the people of this island. If Honua was that, they would absolutely have my full support. but they are a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I hope the PUC will see through that and uphold their previous ruling. Mahalo.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay. Next up, we have Shannon Rudolph. Shannon, please state your name and where you're from.
Aloha, my name is Shannon Rudolph and I live in Kona. I've been a resident of Hawaii Island for nearly 40 years, and I've also been a proud union member and active community advocate for 50 years. I was selected to take Honua Ola's anthology survey, and it was a sham poll with questions that herded people to answer in Honua's favor. I commend the PUC for its latest ruling on Honua Ola. Do not be fooled. They do not deserve special considerations or exemptions to jump in the pack and skirt the rules that others must follow.
Shannon, we're having technical difficulties with you.
Slow-mo boondoggle here in New Island and proposed ability is the greenwashing alternative energy, pure and simple. And chance for Wall Street hedge funders to take advantage of residents and federal taxpayers. Okay.
Thank you, Shannon. Next up.
Can you not hear me?
Shannon, it wasn't coming through.
Can you hear me?
We're going to move on to Kalani Souza now. Kalani, can you please state your
Yes, my name is Kalani Souza. I am at the Ahupua'a of Kaohe. I reside in the Ahupua'a of Kaohe in the Moku of Hamakua. I'm presently with the University of Hawaii, the National Disaster Preparedness Training Center. I'm a community outreach specialist, also as a traditional environmental knowledge TEK trainer and consultant with NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, the Indigenous Knowledge and Modern Science Integration Efforts. I work with the IPCCWG, the Indigenous Peoples Climate Change Working Group, reporting to the UN's efforts on climate science, as well as PRIMO, the Pacific Risk Management Ohana's Indigenous Knowledge and the Environment Working Group. In addition, I'm most proud of my work with the Olohana Foundation, a 501c3 state of Hawaii nonprofit whose mission is community capacity right here in Hamakua. I've been a process facilitator and a federal mediator for over 2 decades, primarily around Indigenous and environmental issues. And in the words of Ringo Starr, I hope we pass the audition. We are in fact living into the 6th great global extinction event, of which the science is indisputable. We are losing more environments and species, and the simple fact is human activity is leading to the collapse of the global food chain by impacting our marine environments unconscionably and with little regard for the larger systems that support the biosphere, all in an attempt to quench our thirst for an ever-expanding quarterly dividend. To be sure, people with money are invested in making more money to increase their share of wealth since time immemorial, investing only when they see the potential for great profit, generally at the expense of the larger, less affluent society. Bad business decisions, carbon sequestration insurance scams, environmental fraud, bad species selection, large land sales, new deals, old investments, companies posing as pseudo-governmental public service corporations. Present carbon emissions into the atmosphere raise global temperatures in the ocean dangerously close to non-recoverable positions, leading to widespread coral death by globally, some estimates 33%, 1/3 of the corals in the world dead. For a Hawaiian, one interested in Ola, in Honua, the death of the coral can be seen as the great indicator leading to the end of life in the world as we know it. The concept of burning carbon into our atmosphere to produce expensive energy is sophomoric and flies in the face of reason. To create divisiveness by playing up jobs as well as specialized positions that more than likely are assigned to people not from the community. It's treacherous to communal lifestyles. It borders on criminal when one considers the environmental impacts in our larger global disaster. Hawaii may be the one identified location in the world where for over a millennia, human beings proved that we can. We can live in a closed loop, regenerative, recyclable system, create food, water, energy, and resources for the population that are robust, enduring, and with positive inputs to the environment and its people. Thank you to the Public Utilities Commission. Thank you for denying the appeal and protecting the people of Hawaii. Kalani out.
Mahalo, Kalani Souza, Reverend Kalani Souza. Next up, we have Elizabeth and Roger Hansen. Mr. and Mrs. Hansen, could you please state your name and where you're from?
Yeah, Roger Hansen from Hakalau. And I'm beseeching the PUC to stand by their decision. The reasons why: the high cost of electricity from that plant will put an unnecessary financial burden on the ratepayers. Our highways and bridges will require more maintenance due to the increased heavyweight loads from the logging vehicles. The Umalma Bridge was replaced several years ago because it was structurally unsound. The Hakalau and Koli Koli bridges are the same age and structural steel is rusted through and falling into the streams. When these bridges fail, and with the increased loads and traffic from the logging trucks, the Hamakua commerce will be shut down for years, as well as Honua Noa. Sugar Mill Road was not designed and built for that volume of heavy traffic and loads carried by these vehicles. The intersection of Sugar Mill Road and Mamalahoa Highway will create additional hazards from logging trucks entering and exiting the highway. Logging will create an awful scar and additional environmental damage to the microecosystems, affecting wildlife and the ocean. Many published studies also show that forests protect and add to our aquifer. Large diesel trucks add additional hydrocarbon load to our atmosphere and to add noise pollution. Huge use of our water source will be tapped in the plant and not recovered. Alternative wind, solar, geothermal are non-polluting and readily available at a lower cost to consumers and will provide employment. The future of the grid will be redesigned and made up of local microgrids. Let's prepare for the future and not use fuel that is detrimental to the environment. I thank you.
Okay, I'm next. I'm Elizabeth Hansen, and obviously I also live in Hakalau. We're about 20 minutes away from the proposed plant. I would like to thank the PUC for their July 9th decision that requires Honua to go through a competitive bidding process. This was absolutely the correct decision. Their anticipated cost of power is many times the cost for solar or other energies, making them non-competitive. The residents of Hawaii Island should not be forced to reward Huanoa's incompetence by being forced to purchase power from such a company. Despite the recent fictitious, huge public relations campaign by Huanoa, I want to stress that Huanoa does not have all the local support that they claim. Why? Because of the many myriad of environmental damage that the plant has already caused and will increasingly cause. Hawaii has passed a proposition to support green energy. Burning trees is not one of them. Aloha, and thank you for listening.
Mahalo, Elizabeth and Roger. Next up, we have Stephen Johnson. Stephen, can you please state your name and where you live? Stephen Johnson, are you there?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
Hello? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Hello, I'm Steve Johnson in Pepakea, Hawaii. I live about 1,200 feet from the power plant. So I guess you could say I have a different view on all this, but I've been watching them for 10 years now, and the amount of pollution that they create already, every time it rains hard, the water just runs off into the ocean. They don't have any controls from all the oils and junk that's getting all over the ground from what they're doing there. The noise pollution that they promised at the 2018 Windward meeting that we went to, said they're going to start working on the sound. They actually were already. They haven't done anything about the noise that this power plant makes. It's called noise pollution. One thing I've noticed over the years, whenever they ramp up construction with the big trucks, as they go up and down Sugar Mill Road, it creates tons of mud and dust on the road because they can't pass because it's too narrow. So the stuff all gets transferred on the road, and we all get to drive through it. So it gets on everything and everybody. Okay, now I just was interested in the fact that burning wood's not a good thing. I lived and grew up in a town where for 40 years our community heated their homes with wood. And after so long, it became so bad in the town that we had to make burning wood illegal to heat our homes. So we had to go to other alternative sources. But it doesn't make clean air. And you wait until they start running this stack here, and a lot of people might not be concerned about this plant or don't think it affects them. They will not believe how much smoke it's going to make. Our town, I did all the math. I was a contractor all my life. Our town burned as much firewood in 1 year as that plant's going to burn in 2 days. And oh my word, the stuff that's going to be thrown in the air. And I like the way they back engineered the amount of carbon in the air and the other poisons to just be under the regulations to where they would have had to put in a much better system. Okay, you know, we look at jobs, and the thing is, a wave of the future in Hawaii is solar. That's where all our jobs are going to be. And we got new power plants that are coming on that are going to provide jobs. We have homes that are need solar. We have buildings that need solar. We have government buildings that need solar. So there's a lot of future that way. That's the way we should think about jobs. And the people that need to get jobs, there we go. Okay, the thing that really always concerns me is when Warren Lee came out and said that he's not going to accept this ruling. I don't know who put him in charge of this planet, but how can he say he's not going to accept it? But the problem I see here is I've lived next to that plant for 10 years, and I've watched rule after rule and code after code and regulation after regulation be ignored because nobody stands up to what's going on over there at that plant. It's like he's run amok all these years, not having to accept any rules. Well, thank God that the PUC came along and gave him one maybe he can't put away, because he is not in charge of all this. When you look at the electrical cost of this thing, I was just putting in common sense here that 8 cents is one thing and 22 to 32 cents in a couple more years is another. But let me ask you, if you're going to go out and buy a brand new car, and the first dealership you went to, it was $8,000. And then you decide to go down the street to compare prices, and the next guy wanted $32,000 for the same car. Now, let me ask you, which one would you buy? Well, we need cheaper energy here, not more expensive, because I don't think anybody in all the PR work that they're doing knows what's going on. Nor do they realize it's going to affect their electric bill. And I find it interesting that these jobs, 38 of them, I guess, the other ones are future, but there's Warren said that they're 99% complete. Well, I've been a contractor all my life, and I've been involved in a lot of large commercial projects. I owned a corporation.
30 seconds.
And um, there's so much more to be done there. The wells, they've got something drilled. They don't have the liners in the wells. They don't even know if they're going to work. They've got the drainage issues with all the water. They have to deal with that. The Sugar Mill Road, it's not wide enough. The issues with the intersection up there when you're going to.
Okay. All right, Stephen, we're going to move on. We're going to move on, Stephen, because we know if we were going to go through the litany of negligence on the part of Honua, we'd be here all night. So we've got to move on to the rest of our petitioners. Okay. Next up, we have Clara Ontal. Clara, can you please state your name and where you're from?
Aloha kako, my name is Clara Ontal. I'm from Honolulu and I have family roots in the Pepe'ekeo area. I am deeply concerned about the impact of the actions of Honua on the people, the land, the aquifer, and the ocean of Hawaii Island, and the global issue of greenhouse emissions and climate change. The environmentally destructive practices of Honua are extensive. Burning trees for energy generates 3 times more carbon emissions than natural gas and 1.5 times more carbon emissions than coal. In addition, they generate air pollution from logging trucks. There's also the effect on the Vai with the excessive use of 21 million gallons of water and polluting with toxic chemicals. Also, the aquifer beneath the Honua plant can be contaminated by dirty, heated water injected in wells 800 feet deep. And there's also the effect on the Aina with the clear cutting of trees, increasing the threat of landslides and wildfires. All of this damage, and yet consumers are paying higher rates than they would for solar energy. Honua is both an environmental and financial burden on our community. Adults teach us young people to follow the rules, play fair, and to not make a mess. As a high school student, I look at the actions of Honua and I say they should get detention, or better yet, be expelled. I am outraged by their actions and their disregard for the health of the community and the future of our Aina. Mahalo to the PUC for their decision and to Malama Hamakua and other organizers for all of their dedication. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Clara. Very inspiring to hear you speak. Thank you. All right, next person up after Clara is Stephen Holmes. Stephen, can you please state your name and where you live?
Aloha, I'm Steve Holmes. I live in Kailua Kona. I'm a former member of the Honolulu City Council and the U.S. Department of Energy National Energy Champion. I've been keeping an eye on Honua for the last 12 years. It's been one lawsuit, one misadventure after another, labor disputes, contractor disputes. In many ways, they've done it to themselves. I really would like to thank the PUC for denying the waiver from the competitive process. everybody should stand on the same footing. But this project is a lose-lose. It's bad for the environment and it's bad for a struggling economy on the Big Island, where utility rate increases would hurt our government agencies, which are struggling, both state school systems, for instance, the Hawaii County government, and also our kupuna who are on fixed incomes, and for everybody else who's just lost a job and is struggling to keep a roof over their head. The last thing they need right now is to have a rate increase. Why do that when we have a win-win solution available to us with 2 phases of solar, one of which has already been approved by the PUC, which will bring online an additional 60 megawatts of green energy. Phase 2, if that gets approved, and I hope you do, we're looking at a total of 180 megawatts plus 720 megawatts of battery storage. On this grid, on this island, that's impressive. And that's going to bring rates down. That's really what we need. So I would hope that the PUC could stand up to the political pressure, the PR campaign that's ongoing, and do the right thing. Mahalo for your time.
Mahalo, Stephen. Thank you so much for speaking. Next up, we have Julie Stoll. Julie, please say your name and where you live.
Aloha, I'm Julie Stoll. I live in Pa'awilo. And I wanted to commend the PUC for denying Huhonua's operating permit. I live in the middle of these trees, and we know that burning trees is not green energy, nor is it sustainable. Burning trees not only releases CO2 into the atmosphere, but eliminating living trees that remove carbon is a double whammy. These eucalyptus forests bring moisture to the Hamakua coast, and they also comb the wind. The diesel trucks that would be constantly on our old roads would be emitting fossil fuels, not to mention the heavy equipment used to take down the trees. This is an outdated way of creating energy. We must transition to a sustainable energy as soon as possible, and we already have solar being implemented at a much cheaper rate. We need to create jobs for people that do not harm the earth, the water, or the environment. This plant sits on the edge of the unstable cliff at Pepeakeo. There's an endemic seaweed found only at Pepeakeo at Kapa Ko'ia Landing. The fact that the plant plans to take 21 million gallons of water a day, add chemicals to cool the water, and then inject the toxic water back into the aquifer should be cause alone for alarm. Water is life. This is not just a saying. The Hawaiians say the water is the physical manifestation of spirit in the world. And the Kumulipu chant begins with the coral polyp and traces every living being going forward. The coral is where life begins, and any project that could harm our oceans, the corals, the algae, the other marine life should be denied. Honua has made contradictory statements. They have not been honest, and how can they be trusted? I've been taught by Hawaiians that are still connected to the ways of their ancestors, to the Aina and the water, and what they have shared is that if they were to destroy their environment, they would inflict harm to their own spirit, their health, their well-being, their relationships with each other, and their relationships with the Earth Mother, Papa Honua. We need to all stand up to protect our planet for the future generations. And I ask the PUC to uphold their decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. All right, next we have Linda Merriman. Linda, please state your name and where you're from.
Aloha, my name is Linda Merriman, and I am currently living in the Puna area, but I have been living on the Hamakua coast in Ninole. I very much appreciate your decision. There's been so many reasons for Huhonua to be stopped, and to have it come in from you all because of an overcharge amount of money to the public is just kind of a gift to all of us who have been working for years to keep this from happening. I'm originally from Missouri, and we're the show me state. So I decided I needed to see what was going on, and I took the tour of Huhonua when it was open to the Chamber of Commerce. And I spent most of that afternoon interviewing the forester who is in charge of the tree aspect. And the reality of what is going to happen if Honua is allowed to move forward is going to be harvesting all these eucalyptus trees that were planted in the 90s for another project that failed. And now they're landowners that would like to have the land back, and they've got all these trees. So they've got Honua saying, we're going to burn these trees, and it's going to be an offset of energy because we'll be planting new trees. The forester eventually admitted that it will be a minimum of 20 years before there would be an offset of the amount of trees they're talking about harvesting. And they don't have the land set up to plant the new trees. All they have set up is an arrangement to harvest, haul down the roads, over the bridges, and burn and put into the air these trees. So it's a real gift to the Aina. It's a real gift to all of us that you have said no to Honua, and we're very thankful. Don't let their PR and their bullying change your mind. You've done the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Okay, next up we have Kaiula Tioganko. Kaiula, please state your name and where you are from.
Aloha kako, my name is Kailu Tuanko, and I am 15 years old from Hilo. I would like to commend and support the PUC's prior decision of denying Honua Ola's request to be exempt from the competitive bidding process. I would also like to mahalo you for listening to me today, because my generation and the generations of all the children of Hawaii are the ones that will inherit this problem and will have to find the solutions for these things in our lifetime. As a result of your decision, you are going to be creating a better future. You'll be helping to create opportunities for a more sustainable, a more eco-friendly, and a more beautiful Hawaii. It makes no sense to grant a company who burns wood to make energy the right of way when it comes to competitive bidding, when climate change is one of the top 10 biggest problems in the world. Burning trees is not green, nor is it sustainable. While on the other hand, there are many clean energy solar companies waiting for the job that are cheaper, smaller scale, and cause less of a pollution to our islands and also to the planet. I would like to urge you to continue your support and uphold your prior decision. Thank you for helping Hawaii see a cleaner and more renewable tomorrow. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kaiulu. Okay, next up we have Leilani DeMello. Leilani, please state your name and where you live.
Aloha, o Melissa Leilani DeMello Ko'uinoa, noho au ma kapu'euhi o la'a puna. E no au ma mua o ko, ke noi aku nei e ho'ole mau I ka Honua palapala ai. Aloha, my name is Leilani and I live in the verdant forest of Ola'a with my family, and I work for Kua Kanaka LLC, which is a native Hawaiian social enterprise based in Hilo. As stewards of this aina, we would like to say mahalo to the PUC for denying the permit for Honua. We are concerned about the impacts of the operation of Honua on our fragile ecosystem and the people of not only the Hamakua community, but all of the people in this Pai'aina. We worry for the health of the land, air, fresh water aquifers, and for the health of the ocean. Honua will not provide a sustainable source of energy production, and moreover, it will destroy more than it would help. That just does not make sense to us. Mahalo again to the PUC for denying the permit for Honua. Please continue to stand on the side of the land and the people of this place.
Mahalo, Leilani. Okay, next up we have Saturnino Doctor. Saturnino, please state your name and where you live. Are you there, Saturnino? Are you unmuted? Unmute yourself, please.
There you go. Sorry about that.
There you go. No problem.
Hello, everybody.
My name is Saturnino Doctor, and I live here in Pepekeo. And the back of me is the reflection of where Huhunua's plant is going to be. So I just wanted to thank everybody who has been fighting Huhunua. It's because of the fact that in the early days of this battle, we had very little support. But now, with thanks to this organization, Life of the Land, and the information being broadcasted out there more, we are getting good responses against this plant. I support the PUC's ruling of not allowing Huhunua to have a waiver from competitive bidding. They should be playing in the level field if they do want to be a real energy competitor. But we all know what the problem is, and that this project is just wrong for many reasons, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not much of a speaker, but I'm just going to say that thank you all, and I really appreciate your help. And with that, I really thank the PUC again, and I hope that they will uphold their decision and shut this project down once and for all. Aloha.
Mahalo,
I wait my
Saturnino.
turn.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking out when it's often uncomfortable, yeah? Okay, so next up, and Saturnino, if you could please mute your microphone. And next up, we have Leilani Kaapuni. Please unmute, state your name and where you live.
Aloha, my name is Leilani Lindsay Kaapuni. I live in Honua, Hilo, Hawaii. To the commissioners of the PUC, mahalo nui loa for making the Pono decision for all of Hawaii Island's people and for our environment by rejecting Huhunua's request for exemption from competitive bidding that would have permanently doubled and tripled the electric rates of everyone living on Hawaii Island. The Huhonua project sought to clear cut our forests over a 30-year period and use 21 million gallons a day of our precious water resources for 30 years. Many concerned individuals and families have opposed this terrible project for a decade. We've testified, written hundreds of letters, made hundreds of calls to government agencies. Huhonua has ignored our voices, believing that their money could buy the approvals they sought. Instead, Huhonua was sued 28 times and fined for knowingly polluting our environment. We remain committed to the protection of our land, our environment, our water, air, and ocean. I am glad to stand with those who have opposed this terrible project for many years. Mahalo nui loa to Henry Curtis and Kat Brady of Life of the Land for their unwavering opposition to this project and protection of our Aina. Henry and Kat are members of Hui Aloha Aina, whose very first president, Joseph Navahi, spoke these timeless words 124 years ago that are still so relevant today. Joseph Navahi said, "E ho'omau ma ke kupa'a no ke aloha I ka aina." Remain steadfast with aloha for your land. So we urge you, the commissioners of the PUC, to remain steadfast in your decision not to exempt Huhonua from competitive bidding. You made the Pono decision for our Aina. And we ask you to uphold that decision. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, Leilani. All right. So next we have Will Carone. Will, can you please state your name and where you live?
Aloha, my name is Will Carone. I am a community organizer from Pololo, Oahu. I am the current co-chair of Young Progressives Demanding Action, or YPDA, a youth-led organization dedicated to advancing the values young people hold dear, including justice, equity, and sustainability. We represent roughly 1,165 members statewide. Two of our current board members are from Hawaii Island. YPDA is committed to the facilitation of a radical transformation of our socioeconomic paradigm away from exploitative, profit-driven policy that destroys the environment and keeps working families in poverty. This transformation, we feel, must include renewable and clean sources of energy that add no further damage to our climate, as well as good, clean, sustainable jobs for the people of Hawaii. Unfortunately, the Honua biofuel project provides neither and is a step in the wrong direction. So we want to mahalo the PUC for its decision and ask you to uphold it. As an energy technology, burning trees after harvesting them from miles away, it makes no sense. It's completely inefficient. Besides, thermal energy loss, the project proposes to use 20 million gallons per day of groundwater for cooling, with all that hot water, as has been said, being dumped into Hawaii Island injection wells. Combined with the energy lost in pumping all that water, this project is just completely inefficient. Honua's own modeling shows these thermal discharges would contaminate coastal waters and threaten habitats for endangered species. By dumping the water into these wells, they're circumventing mandatory Clean Water Act and Environmental Species Act reviews. A good faith effort at greening our energy economy would not skirt around hard-fought environmental protections. We've seen the cries of jobs, jobs, jobs with other unsustainable projects in the past, including from the agrochemical corporations. And we at YPDA find these corporate level divide and conquer tactics reprehensible. Labor and environmentalists are not natural enemies. We have too much at stake to allow profit-driven executives to divide us. There's no reason why we cannot develop truly sustainable energy projects that would in fact provide good, clean jobs for people. The truth is that Honua is not even a competitive project. The company wants, 36 cents per kilowatt hour. Is a terrible deal for us. Every business and homeowner would see an increase in their electric bill, not a decrease. So higher energy costs have a multiplier effect in the economy. It gets passed on in all goods and services. Everyone gets hurt as a result, but especially the very working families the company claims it wants to help. Solar farms create jobs too, but without clogging roads with logging trucks and polluting our streams and coastal waters. So let's create even more jobs by retrofitting our homes and businesses to be more energy efficient and save consumers money. Much of this can be done using third-party financing. We are already moving ahead with 180 megawatts of solar farms and 720 megawatt hours of battery energy storage. This investment will create good paying jobs that do not contribute to our existing climate chaos problem. We have a clear choice. We can lock in on Honua, an archaic power technology for the next 25 years to create a handful of jobs driving logging trucks, or we can build the power system of the future and save consumers money. For young people, and you're gonna hear from a few more right after me that are just amazing activists from their generation. For young people who are gonna inherit this system, you folks in leadership positions decide to start here. The choice is crystal clear for us. Scrap the Honua project and concentrate all our efforts on greening our existing infrastructure and capturing clean solar power. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Will, and thank you so much for your tireless work in Honolulu, working for legislation that benefits working families. You're amazing, thank you. Okay, next up, we have Samantha Stainhouse. Samantha, please state your name and where you live.
Aloha, my name is Samantha Stainhouse and I live in Honolulu. I ask that the Public Utilities Commission upholds their decision to prohibit Honua from being exempted from the competitive bidding process because of the impact that they will have on islanders, on the environment, and on future legislation. There is already a solar farm project on Hawaii Island that will provide cheaper and more efficient energy at a base rate of 8 cents per kilowatt hour compared to the 22 cents that would be charged by Honua. Rates for consumers would go up, not to mention the added expense of having logging trucks and burning fumes in their backyard. We are an island that should be filled with greenery rather than smoggy air. The most efficient energy sources should come from the ocean and from the sun. The sun is a constant resource that we should be utilizing. Honua argues that planting trees will make themselves carbon neutral, but how can that ever be the case when they are burning so much fuel, chopping down trees and transporting them? Moreover, 20 million gallons per day of thermal discharge water is dumped near the ocean. The environment is desperate for changes to be made to such a harmful system. 2020 is a turning point for both the increased awareness on the importance of protecting the environment, as well as the change that will no doubt occur in the post-pandemic society. We have the chance to make sure that Hawaii will meet our 100% renewable energy goals for 2045, and that our islands become and stay green. Making sure that the Honua plant is not exempted sends a direct message to investors and businesses to move towards greener options for the future. Why would we reverse a decision that would put us back in time and ignore the technological and sustainable developments that we have worked so hard to make happen? Please think of my future, of the future of your families, and solar and the other people who have been speaking today. Solar energy is a much cheaper, safer, and brighter way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. All right, next up we have Kavika Pegram. Kavika, can you please state your name, where you're from, and unmute yourself?
Aloha mai kako. My name is Kavika Pegram. I'm from Waipahu in Oahu, Hawaii. I am the executive director of the Hawaii Youth Climate Coalition, and we're a youth-led nonprofit whose aim is to ensure a just and equitable transition to a climate-resilient future. Hu Honua is not how we're going to accomplish that. Its energy is expensive, it is dirty, and according to Hawaiian Electric, the power it would supply isn't even needed when you factor in the new clean energy projects coming in. To the PUC, we are calling on you to uphold your previous decision. When we look into building a future that is safe for our communities, we should look into investing in energy that is actually clean, renewable, and affordable. Why should communities suffer the expensive energy costs when there's cheaper alternatives that won't hurt us in the long term? So mahalo to Just Transition Hawaii Coalition for putting this together. And thank you to the POC for your thoughtful decision on the 9th last month. It is my hope that the same decision can be made again. Mahalo.
Mahalo nui, Kavika. It's so inspiring to see all these young voices here today. I'm blown away. Thank you. Next up, we have Jade Frank. Jade, please state your name, where you live, and don't forget to unmute yourself.
Aloha, my name is Jade Frank, and I live in Kapahulu on the island of Oahu. I'm the communications director of the HYCC with Kavika. And I wanted to thank the PUC for their wise decision and oppose any kind of reconsideration of their choice. I am tired of the commodification of our aina and natural resources in the interest of businesses. I am tired of corporations trying to pit our communities against their own greater interests through PR, using people's jobs, their livelihoods, as an excuse, quite frankly, to further desecrate our native lands, water, and skies in the pursuit of profit. There's a plethora of more sustainable and equitable alternatives to what Hu Honua has to offer, which are significantly cheaper, safer for employees and the surrounding community, and kinder to our precious lands. Solar is one example that we've been using a lot. And of course, it's not perfect. It's not currently able to alone meet the needs of our power system, but it's still great. And that's what our goals are, to find better solutions, combinations of solutions perhaps, that can create a greener future for us. Regardless, the assertion that Hu Honua makes repeatedly in their PR campaign that it creates futures on the Big Island is simply untrue, as it's evident in their actual business practices that they don't care about the community or land here. If they truly cared about their employees, this company, run by extremely wealthy off-island investors, would provide them with livable wages and not threaten their livelihoods, and provide them with security rather than threatening their livelihoods and utilizing them as tools in their campaign. Their actions have been just so indicative of their true intentions and greed. And this company is in no way entitled nor above to the rules, and especially as their business model and demonstrated practices are not in congruence to our clean energy goals. I'm really grateful to the PUC for prioritizing and protecting the public, our futures, my future as a young person, and for recognizing the implications that this choice will have. So thus, I strongly urge the PUC to uphold their ruling. And also thank you to the organizers for creating this space, for all of us to exercise our agency, and for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade. All right, it's great to meet all these new people. Okay, next up after Jade, we've got Matt Binder. Matt, please state your name, where you live, and don't forget to unmute yourself.
Aloha, my name's Matt Binder. I'm a science teacher in Waimea on the Big Island. I want to thank the PUC as well for a sound ruling on Honua, and all the unpaid concerned citizens who worked so hard to find out what's really going on at Honua and bringing it to the PUC's and the public's attention. Honua, in my opinion, is an idea that might have made sense in the 1800s, but now we have so many options that are less expensive, less polluting, and don't contribute nearly as much to global warming. I think the people pushing this project know that, and that's why they're insisting on exemptions from competitive bidding, and they have to bend reality to justify their greenhouse gas emissions. I was a solar engineer back in the 1980s, and my company competed for large-scale electricity generating projects. And I know a loser project when I see one. This project has all the worst features we've had to live with for too long here: obsolete technology, owners demanding special treatment and government handouts, no concern for how much it costs the ratepayers or how much it pollutes the environment. The PUC has made a rational judgment here. Please don't submit to the pressure to change your stand now. And thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Matt Binder. Next up, Maya Parrish. Maya, don't forget to unmute your mic and let us know your name and where you live.
And I too wish to commend and thank the PUC commissioners for their logical decision not to exempt Honua from the competitive bidding process. My heart is really full today witnessing and listening to this group of informed and impassioned Hawaii residents stand up for what's right, for ratepayers, for the Aina, Vai, Kai, and future generations. I only joined the community movement against Honua about 4 years ago, but I know that many of you have been raising awareness about and fighting this polluting and already outdated project for many years. I'm especially inspired by the young people who have joined this live stream petition today. And as they have said so eloquently, they are the ones that will have to inherit the consequences of our actions and choices today. As a new mother to a 9.5-month-old infant, I worry constantly about her future in regards to the global climate crisis. This is the crisis of our lifetime, and greenlighting Honua would simply be insane, given the facts and the science at hand. They call themselves green and renewable, but they are neither, as so many of the speakers before me have stated. Problems with calling biomass projects renewable include and are not limited to the lag time. It takes between 20 to 100 years for the carbon to be recaptured from newly planted trees, which means that for decades, biomass burning will create more greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, not less. We cannot be sure that new trees will actually be planted. There is no mechanism in place to police these power companies, and expecting them to self-police is like asking the fox to guard the hen house. These projects also only have the possibility of being carbon neutral if the wood that is being burned is twigs and waste wood sourced from areas in close proximity, not whole trees, which we currently rely on for carbon sequestration. And in practice, it is being found that whole trees are being used. All of this doesn't even touch on the other environmental hazards of this project, which would also draw 21.5 million gallons of water per day from the Hakalau aquifer, mix in about 30 hazardous chemicals, and then re-inject it back into the aquifer every day through injection wells, contaminating the aquifer and the nearshore marine environment. The Supreme Court just recently ruled against Maui for the use of similar injection wells close to the coast. Of equal importance, our forests are functioning ecosystems that are in danger of being destroyed. Now, globally, the term renewable is being used to greenwash a gigantic loophole in controlling carbon emissions by burning trees to produce energy. The reality is burning trees for energy releases more carbon than coal and double that of burning liquid natural gas. We are living in incredibly urgent times. And as island residents, we are especially vulnerable to the effects of climate change. We must transition to actual renewable and clean energy, not be sold this greenwashed biomass scam. Burning trees destroys forests that provide us with oxygen and doubles the speed at which the planet heats up. Mahalo again to the organizers, to all who have been standing against this project, and to the PUC for your decision of July 9th. My Ohana and I encourage you to uphold your decision for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. Okay, next up we have Dyson Shi. Dyson, please state your name and where you live, and don't forget to unmute yourself.
Got it. Aloha, everyone. My name is Dyson Shi. I live in Honolulu on Oahu, and I'm an 18-year-old newly graduated high school student. First off, I want to say thank you so much to the PUC for your decision, for choosing to uphold your job, your duty, and for protecting us taxpayers, the people who are going to be buying this energy in the end. You have made the right decision in saying that Honua, you are not exempt from the competitive bidding process. You are no more special than other forms of energy that are being developed right now. And as part of the next generation, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, for standing up as lions rather than being herded around like sheep. Now, I guess living on Oahu, the reason why I decided to join this virtual testimony is for a couple of reasons. One, although Honua is on the Big Island, we have a statewide energy goal to be 100% renewable by 2045. It's statewide. That means everyone in every county in the state needs to work towards that goal. That means Honua cannot be set as a precedent for the rest of the state to follow. They cannot be allowed to bypass the competitive bidding process. Second of all, as a youth activist, and there are many other youth on here that are activists as well, which you have heard from. If you look around the news right now, there is a lot of talk about us having hope. Hope for the future, hope that we are going to have a planet, inherit a planet that's habitable, at least. But there's also something else that you don't always see in the news, that you don't always see youth activists like me, like Kavika, like Jade talking about. And that is that we feel betrayed sometimes. You know, living in Honolulu, we have a lot, I can actually look up right outside my window here, and you can see a lot of these big, giant luxury condos coming up. And they're, you know, quote unquote, affordable housing. And it's quite similar when you look at Honua. It's a renewable energy facility. And so my generation, we're told by adults that we support you, and we're seeing it here, right? You know, Kuhan, you, Evan, Rita, everyone else here, you adults, you are helping to uplift youth voices to support our future. And you're following up your talk with action. But we don't always see that. And Honua is the perfect example, saying, oh, we are renewable. We are going to help protect your future. No, that is not what you are doing. As one of the future generation, I do not appreciate you saying that. I do not appreciate you pulling this off as a way to protect our future, to protect jobs in Hawaii, because that is not what you're doing. And so I guess I'll leave off with this. To the PUC, I urge you to stay strong, to stand by your ruling to prohibit Honua from being exempt from the competitive bidding process. Stay strong for the people of Hawaii. Stay strong for the future of Hawaii. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dyson. Next up, we have Lucy Fagan. Lucy, please state your name and where you live and unmute yourself. Are you there, Lucy Fagan? Or did you leave? Oh, I see you. Don't unmute your mic, please. There you go. Okay, we're going to move on since I'm not hearing Lucy, and we can slide her in later. Next up, we have Ton Keeney. Ton, please state your name and where you live.
I'm Ton Keeney from Honua. And the EPA policy defining carbon neutrality of bioenergy is derived from the Consolidated Act of 2018. Section 431, policies relating to biomass, states, the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency shall, consistent with its missions, establish clear and simple policies for the use of forest biomass as an energy solution, including policies that reflect the carbon neutrality of forest bioenergy and recognize biomass as a renewable energy source, provided the use of forest biomass for energy production does not cause conversion of forest to non-forest use. 12,000 acres of the 20,000 acres to be harvested by Honua are lands belonging to Kamehameha Schools. Kamehameha Schools' only public declaration of its intent for usage of these properties following harvesting is a statement by its Big Island land manager, Marissa Harmon, cited in a 2018 Hawaii Tribune Herald article. The new operator will harvest 3,000 acres of eucalyptus in Hilo, Pauilo, Makai, and near the rim of Waipio Valley, the Educational and Charitable Trust said in a news release. We chose these acres because we want to immediately transition those locations to other uses, such as community education programs and other agricultural activities, said Marissa Harmon, Kamehameha Schools Director of Asset Management on Hawaii Island. Harmon said in Pauilo, Kamehameha Schools developed partnerships with community collaborators for educational programs on our land and for agricultural programs. There are always interested parties, but specific activities would depend on who comes forward when land becomes available. Harvesting this eucalyptus is causing conversion of forest to non-forest use, and therefore this cannot, by federal statute and EPA directive, be considered carbon neutral or renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ton. Okay, Lucy Fagan is with us. Lucy, please state your name, where you're from, and unmute your mic, please.
Hi, sorry, my video is being all weird. My name is Lucy Fagan, and I'm a 16-year-old student living in Kaimuki. I would like to thank the PUC for their stance and ask that they continue with it. The only stake I have in this fight is my future. No money, no hidden benefits. We have gambled with our futures for the past hundreds of years, and we are seeing the consequences of our ignorance. We can no longer continue down this path, and we are beginning to see the needed changes made. During this time of recognizing the importance of environmentalism and clean energy, however, we need to be wary of projects and people that disguise themselves with positive words and empty promises. We need to analyze our actions from every aspect before moving forward with them. Not doing this is how we ended up with the current environmental crisis. It feels like it has become clear Honua is not taking actions that benefit the people, but instead help make the rich richer. Clean energy and new jobs are two things we desperately need during these times. The way we go about that, however, needs to be genuine and beneficial to our islands. Burning trees, to me at least, sounds drastic, and that's because it is. My whole life, I have been taught the importance of them. They provide shade, protect our aina, store water, and most importantly, our carbon captures. Burning these vital resources into a new cause of pollution for our land, not only would missing trees be detrimental to our land, but the energy production would create wastewater and also harm our island home. And while not only is this energy source dirtier than other clean options, it is also not cheaper. The energy created would be 3 times more expensive than other options like solar. Now, more than ever, we need to be relieving Hawaii's people of cost burdens while many struggle to survive. So it seems Hohonua's claims aren't true. They aren't sustainable, and their cost effectiveness isn't true. Supporting a company that not only falsely advertises, but will harm us does not seem like the right move. I am worried for my future and those behind me's future. So I ask that the PUC continues with their stance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. All right, next up we've got Jimmy Love. Jimmy, please state your name and where you live and unmute yourself.
Hi there. My name is Jim Love, and I live in Honua on the Hamakua coast. And there's nothing more I can add to these wonderful comments that people have made here today, except maybe to talk a little bit about the political side of this, because Hohonua did not get where they are without support. And we have an important moment here in time where we have a chance to vote out the people that supported this and kept it under wraps and continue to behave like, I don't know, what can we compare this to? The robber barons of old, organized crime? These folks are robbing our tax dollars, or attempting to, and they have no concern for those that are going to be impacted. So thank you, PUC, for doing your job and standing up for the public interest in your decision to not exempt them from the competitive bid process. Thank you all who spoke today and those who organized this today. And stay strong. Aloha.
Aloha, thank you so much, Jimmy. Next we have Hank Fergustrom. Hank, please state your name, where you live, and unmute your mic.
Hello, I'm Hanalei Ferguson, and I live in Ola'a in Puna, the island of Hawaii. I am also the spokesperson for Nakupuna Moku Okeawe, which is a kupuna organization with kupuna in all 6 major districts of the island of Hawaii. I would like to first of all thank the PUC for making such a great decision to not allow the exemption of Hohonua from competitive bidding. It's so very important. This cuts the lifeline of all those who feed off the public trough and make it so competition does not occur. It's very hard to follow everybody else because such beautiful testimony has been given today. And it's really nice to see the young people participate also. I'd like to kind of add in just a little bit here, especially with the water use of 20 million gallons a day coming from the Hakalau aquifer. There is no way to control how much water is drawn from an aquifer unless we've already reached its almost limit. And that's one of the problems we have in controlling how much water is being used. And so that's the first problem. Secondly, you don't use fresh water for industrial waste. This is insanity. And the fact that you're gonna pump it down through injection wells, and as it was testified earlier about the Maui Supreme Court injection well findings, that injection wells are actually not good for our environment, and is against the Clean Water Act. Another thought that hasn't been brought up that needs to be brought up is the shoreline and the submerged lands where this injected wells are going to pump their water into. These, if people do not understand, they're part of the submerged lands of the Cedar Lands Trust as part of the Admissions Act under the 5F clause. Of course, the Admissions Act is what allowed the state of Hawaii or the territory of Hawaii to become a state of the United States. This is very important because this is not just water out there. This is property. This is property owned by the Hawaiian Kingdom, being held in trust by the state of Hawaii at this time. What's very important too, and it was been brought up, that what we really have to worry about is the hot water destroying the coral reefs. What little coral reefs we have on the Big Island, which we have very little of. As it was spoken by Julie Stoll, in the Kumulipo, all life starts with the coral polyps. And so maybe something of caution that can be utilized by the PUC is a ruling that came out of Honolulu over the Eva Beach. The name is slipping me right now. The project that had to do with
20 seconds.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, it has to do with the runoff destroying the limu beds, and the court decided as a precautionary principle to stop that project until the project can prove that the release of their hot water will not destroy the coral reefs and the limu that grows on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hanalei. Okay, next up we have Michael Tivana. Michael, please state your name and where you live. Michael?
Hi, can you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Michael Tivana. I live in Hakalau on the Hamakua coast, 4 miles downwind of the proposed power plant. I want to thank the PUC for doing the right thing and not permitting this project from going forward. I want them to continue to not permit it, and I don't want to breathe smoky air. That's the great lie, is that this is a green project. It's not a green project. And we are a nonprofit. We grow plants here. We don't want to grow plants in a pollutive environment. And we grow plants for seeds. And this will have an impact, an economic impact on us. And as a property owner, I don't want to see my property be devalued from this power plant either. So I want to thank everybody for chiming in and taking the time to speak out, to speak their minds and speak up for what's right. I want to thank the PUC for displaying good leadership in this situation. Okay, mahalo.
Mahalo. Okay, Leslie Jima, you're next. State your name and where you live.
Well, aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So my name is Leslie Jima. I was born in Queens Hospital, 1948. I'm a disabled Vietnam vet. My wife, Rusty, and I moved up to the Big Island in 1986. So we first lived in Kelia, South Kona, and we've lived in Waikoloa, South Kohala now since 1993. And you know, the proposed wood burning power plant on the windward side, the emissions from that plant would definitely find their way over to the leeward side. And, you know, anybody who's lived on the leeward side, especially from Waikoloa to anywhere from Waikoloa to South Point, knows there's an eddy effect of the trade winds. So it would be a cumulative effect. Anyway, I'm really encouraged and by all the young testifiers today, especially, they made my day for sure. I have not been a longtime environmentalist of any sort. I only really got sort of had an awakening when Bernie Sanders started running back in 2016. You know, the kind of jobs that Honua is trying to promote will only cause regret, even for the people who find employment there, because I believe that, you know, in retrospect, when they see the environmental damage and degradation that's caused, they will feel remorse if that was allowed to go forward. And the same way that I feel remorse for contributing to the construction of the Royal Hawaiian Shopping Center in Waikiki back in 1978. You know, the young people have got it right. The resources of Hawaii have been exploited and degraded for far too long. I mahalo the PUC for making the right decision, and I encourage them to stand fast. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Les. Really appreciate hearing your story. Next, we have Jeff McKnight. Jeff, please state your name, where you live, and unmute yourself.
Aloha, my name is Jeff McKnight. I'm submitting this testimony on behalf of the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii, and also as a resident of Pauilo, right here on Hawaii Island. I want to start out by thanking the PUC for exercising good judgment and reaching the correct decision not to waive the requirement for competitive bidding. When the Honua power plant was initially proposed, it was marketed as using a renewable energy source. Promises were made to the PUC that they would generate 200,000 megawatts per year without negatively impacting the environment. So why was a permit issued allowing discharge of 300,000 tons per year of greenhouse gases? Since burning trees only becomes carbon neutral after replanted trees reach the same maturity level as those that were burned, a net reduction in carbon emissions from burning wood would not be realized. It turns out that burning wood is remarkably inefficient, even compared to coal. Many cities have curtailed or banned burning of wood because it creates so much air pollution. There will also be additional air pollution and damage to our highways caused by trucks that will be bringing the logs to the plant. Honua stated that they plan to take 21 million gallons per day of thermal discharge water that must be pumped out of the ground before pumping into injection wells. The company and its supporters have not provided any studies to assure the public that these massive daily drawdowns on the aquifer water will have no adverse effects. The chemically tainted and heated water will then be injected back into the sea 80 feet from the ocean in a seismically active area. I just don't see how that's going to work out. Studies have shown that this can have a detrimental effect on marine life. At one point, they had over 20 active legal filings against them. They missed critical milestones that they had committed to in their power purchase agreement, causing Helco to pull the plug. These delays and litigation meant that they missed the deadline for the federal investment tax credit, which seriously harms their pricing. So they won't even be able to meet the already high proposed rate of 22 cents per megawatt unless they find additional sources of funding. And I bet you can guess where that's going to come from, more than likely us, the ratepayers. Helco's put out a request for competitive bidding proposals and have already received a strong positive response. Solar matched with large-scale battery storage is firm power. Solar offers much lower cost and additional services that power plants like Honua cannot. Batteries provide voltage support and also allow for load shifting to meet peak demand. And with regard to jobs, solar farms can more than make up for the jobs lost through the demise of Honua Ola and at a dramatically lower cost to ratepayers. I have no doubt that Honua's investors will continue their attempt to seek or buy back influence in backroom deals. The citizens of Hawaii Island and the state of Hawaii will continue to monitor, expose, and fight against foreign corporations trying to exploit loopholes in our laws so that they can make huge profits on the backs of the ratepayers. We are sick and tired of projects that are not in the best interest of the community being forced upon us against our will. Thank you again to the PUC, and please do not succumb to the PR and political pressure campaign from from Honua Ola.
Thank you very much, Jeff McKnight. Next up, we have Lizzie La Liberté. Lizzie, please state your name and where you live.
Thank you. Aloha, my name is Liz La Liberté, and I'm a teacher, a mother, and a wife here. I live here in Hilo. And I really appreciate the PUC's decision, and I hope that they stick with it and not buckle under all of this pressure that's being mounted on them and other leaders by people who are trying to see this project push forward and push down on our throats, despite the immense amount of public sentiment against it that you've seen here today. So I think that everybody that's testified before me has kind of probably highlighted all the important points that I would like to also comment on, but just a few of mine are that it makes me really sad when I see projects like this that are attempting to basically socialize the costs, the environmental costs, the social costs of pitting local residents against each other, just to save a few jobs that aren't even that well paying. Most of the profits will be sucked out of this island into the mainland, and we will never see them. And meanwhile, we're going to be left dealing with all of the degraded environmental effects of the pollution in the ocean, the deforestation, and everything like that. And finally, I think that this is the company is just trying to scam us by kind of fudging the numbers and saying that this is an actual zero carbon or renewable energy project when we know it's not. We know that the trees that they say they're going to plant are not going to be replanted here. They're going to be replanted somewhere else. So it's basically like fudging the books. You know, they're trying to make it look good on paper, but we know that it's not actually a good project for this island. And we really hope that you stick with this. If not, then we will continue to fight it, because it's a terrible, terrible project to have the local community deal with. So we thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lizzie. Next up, we've got Debbie Ward. Debbie, please state your name and where you live.
Aloha. I'm working on it. Let's see. Okay. Aloha. My name is Deborah Ward, and I live and farm and fruit in Ola'a in East Hawaii on the Puna district. And I'm a retired faculty member of the University of Hawaii at Manoa's Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Management. I'm currently chair of the Sierra Club for this island, and our 27,000 members and supporters have been monitoring the proposals, the pitfalls, the misinformation, the liens against Honua developers, and the desperate pleas of nearby residents for nearly 10 years. The company claims that it's being harmed by the decision of the PUC to judge the plant on its merits rather than waiving the competitive bid process. Our members support the PUC decision, and mahalo you for your foresight. We're mystified that this proposal proposes to generate power at a rate that's nearly 3 times the rate of solar and other truly renewable power projects. Honua Bioenergy LLC has had an on-again, off-again relationship with HELCO over the past several years. And since the PUC approved an amended from 2012 power purchase agreement between the plant and HELCO, we asked repeatedly where the company intends to replant trees once the trees from Kamehameha schools are exhausted. We have never received an answer. Recently, the Hawaii County Department of Water Supply weighed in on Honua's proposal to pump 21 million gallons a day of fresh water and re-inject the water along with chemicals back into the ground after it's been used in the power plant. Keith Okamoto, chief engineer for the Department of Water Supply, informed the State Department of Health's drinking water branch that his agency had concerns about the permits that would allow the company to proceed with its plan, given the well's proximity to the county's potable groundwater wells. The Department of Water Supply asked that the Department of Health require Honua to develop groundwater modeling that would show potential impacts to the county wells and make a determination that Honua's pumping and injection processes would have no adverse impacts on those wells, and that it require the company to develop a monitoring plan for tracking water level and detecting select contaminants at the nearby sources. According to the Department of Water Supply, the Department of Health has not responded. Last year, the Department of Health determined that the plant had discharged between 3,500 and 32,000 gallons of treated industrial wastewater into the ocean where endangered turtles graze. The discharge included acidic metal cleaning solution and residue from descaling of the boiler. The Department of Health Director, Bruce Anderson, is saying, the discharge was a blatant disrespect of the environmental laws that govern this highly regulated industry. The history of concern over the operations of this facility emphasized the need for the Department of Health to take swift action on this violation, end quote. My time before you is limited, and our concerns include the lack of an environmental impact statement, impacts on the neighbors and residents due to noise, logging trucks, fire risks, and air pollution. We ask you, please keep your decision firm despite the pressure to amend it. We support what you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie, for filling us in. There's a lot of backstory there. I remember when the whistleblower, the iron worker, came to the Department of Health hearing with that plastic bottle full of that toxic chemical wastewater that was being dumped. At that meeting, CEO of Honua, Warren Lee, assured everyone it was citric acid, which in and of itself is not the healthiest thing for marine life, but we did indeed find out it was a lot of the heavy metals descaling agents. It was not just citric acid. So it's boggles the mind that they have been allowed to be self-regulating by the Department of Health. In any case, thank you. Next up, we have Rita Ryan. And Rita, please state your name and where you live.
Aloha, my name is Rita Ryan. And I am from Maui. I'm from Makawao town on the slopes of Haleakala, beautiful Haleakala. And I'm here today, even though I don't live on the Big Island, and most people do, because this affects all of us. I also want to introduce myself. I'm the chair of the Hawaii chapter of the Climate Reality Project. I'm the Maui organizer for 350.org, the Hawaii chapter. I also chair the Maui County Climate Action Advisory Committee. So I advise people on solutions. I prefer to spend my time advising on proactive solutions and looking at good solutions, not fighting bad ones. But Honua came to my attention as a really, really bad one. So, the trees and plants are the lungs of the planet, right? So not only does Honua plan to, cut into these lungs, but then repollute it with carbon pollution. This is a double indemnity as far as the environment goes. I mean, there is absolutely no science that makes sense here. So I urge you to look at the science, look at the statistics. I'm a computer scientist. I'm a software engineer by trade, but I have always also studied political science, sustainability science, and marine science. So I know this is a very, very bad thing. It's too bad that we have to thank the PUC for leveling the playing field and opening up this up for competitive bidding. But that's just where the world is right now. There should be competitive bids by default. There should be EIS statements, complete ones by default. But I guess we're not there yet. So thank you to the PUC for ensuring that the public is heard through this type of testimony, the type of testimony that the public wants to give in 2020 via Zoom, and for allowing us to be heard. Now, from Maui County, we had an injection well issue that went on for years. The entire population, almost the entire population of Maui, environmentalists, non-environmentalists alike, came out to oppose the injection, the injection well issue. Now, your injection wells, Honua, are right next to the shore. this lawsuit, the environmental groups sued the county of Maui. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, you'll end up right there too, because this one is even more evident. First of all, there's precedent set by Maui County. And second of all, this is in no way non-point pollution. The Supreme Court said that the non-point versus point pollution is pretty much the same if you've got a tube pouring into the ocean as opposed to coming up from under the ocean floor. It's really not much difference. So I think that they will uphold that ruling. If this has to go to Honua, I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't have to go to the Supreme Court, but it's following the exact same path as the Maui injection well issue. So just a word of caution there. And then, you know, regarding jobs, the Honua, you know, is a corporate entity with everything to gain, and we, the public, with everything to lose here. So, you know, we can create clean jobs in a just transition to a new economy proportionate to the dirty jobs that they are proposing. So they have, you know, gotten in the ear of some people. They've asked their employees to provide testimony. This is all corporate shenanigans. Please don't fall for it. And, you know, they've had very negative, deceptive tactics, riddled with bogus information, AKA lies. They're not trustworthy. They're not a good member of the community, and they need to go. You know, they want to burn some other things. I think other biofuels. Yeah, other biofuels. I might be open to that, but certainly not trees. The cost is too high for the people of Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita Ryan. All right, next up, Gary Harold. Gary, please state your name and where you live. And you might want to unmute yourself. Kelly, I didn't know you were here.
I'm here.
I
just got up to the farm.
I don't know what happened to Gary. Why don't you go ahead and give your testimony?
All right.
Thank you for showing up.
Great. So my name is Kau'i Trainer. I live in Hilo in Pueo, but I work in Lapoihoi. So I drive the road from Hilo to Lapoihoi 2 times every day. And I know everybody has already said a lot of the things that I could say and more, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when clearing happens, because where our farm is at the end of Mauulu Road, our neighbors had lots and lots of trees planted in eucalyptus, and they had a guy come in and cut it all down. And this whole area behind me used to be completely forested eucalyptus forest. It was a second growth eucalyptus forest. So it was harvested once, and then after another 30 years, it was harvested again. The forester that came in, I wouldn't even call him a forester, but he came in, they cut it all down. We had gigantic logging trucks going back and forth in front of our farm 6 to 8 times a day. They destroyed our road, didn't fix it. They left piles and piles of logs that they couldn't sell, because all of the good logs they took and sold to China. So all of those logs were shipped over to China out of the Kauai Harbor. And anything that they didn't think was good enough, and that they thought that maybe Honua Ola would be up by now and they thought they could burn it. Well, here it is. It's all buried. If you can see it back there, stacks and stacks and stacks of trees. Now, I want everybody to know, the PUC to know, I absolutely support your ruling that calls for competitive bidding. It's only fair. Why should we be subjected to high rates of electricity when there are way more efficient, effective forms of energy? Up here, we do not have any electricity. In fact, we are completely off the grid and run by solar. And so if you just consider the effects, not only upon our jobs in the community, in terms of long range goals of training future jobs in real green energy areas, in industries of solar or wind or ocean power, those are jobs that we want because they do not pollute and kill our community. There's never been a traffic study. I want to show you my road that got destroyed by the trucks. If you can see, this used to be completely nice cement. It's all broken up. The trucks never fixed it. It's been over 4 years now. So no traffic studies done around there by Sugar Mill Road. If you're gonna have trucks be trucking every all 12 hours a day, 6 trucks an hour, 144 trucks a day, or something like that, that's gonna be a lot of impact on that small community of Pepikeo. I work out at La Poihoi. Last year we had an accident right outside of our school that was between a large 16-wheeler and a vehicle, and a person died. I certainly don't want any of my families that are in my community out there that I work for affected by potential accidents like that. I've had families in my school where they've been hit by cars going through there. We absolutely need a traffic study done. There absolutely needs to be more research done on other opportunities for the employees, because we want them to have jobs. Those are our people. We want them and support them and want them to have good jobs. But we want them to have jobs that don't come at the expense of Papa Honua mea, that come at the expense of Moana Nui Akea, that come at the expense of Wakea. We want them to have jobs that they will feel proud of. And we want to protect them from all of the shame and the heva of having to work for a company that does not truly support the health and well-being of Pepikeo and of the Big Island and of our world. So thank you for the opportunity to give you my little 2 cents. I've already posted 2 long videos on Facebook. You can go watch it, because my students have long time been investigating this, and mahalo. And I totally support the PUC's decision. Kua'e, keep standing strong. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kau'i. She sent me a note saying there's no way I can make it, and then she just popped in. So how lucky we are to have her valuable, very valuable voice with us today. Okay, next we have someone else popped in. It's Dave Mullinex from Oahu. Dave, can you please state your name and more about where you live and unmute yourself?
Okay, am I unmuted? Nope.
You were unmuted and now you're muted again.
Okay, how about now? Am I unmuted?
You're good.
Okay, good, yay. Excellent. Okay, so my name is Dave Mullinex. I'm a co-founder of 350 Hawaii. 350 is the oldest and largest climate change organization in the world. We have some 6,000 members here in the state of Hawaii. We wholeheartedly support the PUC's ruling, and we thank you very much for it. The PUC has an essential job to do to ensure the safe and most economical energy source to meet the needs of the people of Hawaii. And not only is Honua not providing the most economical energy source, it will add CO2 emissions and increase global warming. Burning wood is not CO2 free. It releases carbon stored over previous decades in one quick burst. For an example, for equal amount of heat or electricity, it releases more CO2 than burning gas, oil, and even coal. So straight away, we have more CO2 in the air from burning wood. Scientists documented that the heat already is having a dramatic effect on our environment and on our planet through global warming. Larger and stronger hurricanes, increased drought and flooding, shifting rain patterns, more and larger wildfires, hotter and more acidic oceans, and damaged ecosystems, both marine and terrestrial. UN IPCC report makes clear we only have about 10 years left to dramatically cut CO2 emissions to prevent perpetual increasing climate chaos. However, we are seeing that global warming effect even today. Sea levels already rising around Pacific Island nations who are now planning for the permanent evacuation of their island homes where they have lived for thousands of years. With the loss of their land base, they will also eventually lose their cultural identity. The Arctic ice cap is already melting 30 years ahead of predictions. The Greenland ice cap has melted 50 years ahead of predictions. And the Arctic permafrost is thawing 70 years sooner than scientists predicted. This is causing coastal indigenous villages that have been there since before the Ice Age to fall into the sea. And Alaskan and Arctic forests are now starting to collapse and fall over as the permafrost dissipates. We're now in the 6th major mass extinction on our planet. And in Puerto Rico alone, they've lost 98% of their ground insects because of climate change. So it is pretty clear that we have to do something other than what they're planning to do at Honua. We need to have reliable, clean energy sources. And we thank the PUC for your consideration. You are the ones who are really protecting the future of our children and our climate and our community. So I want to thank you very much. We wholeheartedly support you. Mahalo nui loa.
Thank you so much, Dave. Okay, so our last and certainly not least speaker tonight, this afternoon, is Evan Lamb. Evan, please state your name and where you live.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Evan Lamb. I am originally from Waimea, and I currently reside in Waikoloa. I work with small local businesses here. I also sit on the board of Recycle Hawaii and have worked with environmental justice organizations like the Sunrise Movement. I speak today in support of all the testifiers before me. I speak today in support of the Commission's decision to deny Honua Ola waiver to the competitive bidding process. To the regulators, I say, hold the line, uphold this decision. It is a fundamental decision to uphold the process of competition. With the decades of climate challenges and crises in front of us, we must be absolutely sure new energy projects cause no harm, are held to the highest environmental standards, and are truly competitive. The marketplace is entered voluntarily by those with the resources to do so. Breathing clean air, drinking clean water, and eating clean food is a necessity, no matter your status. No human cannot volunteer to not have these things, no more than the marketplace can volunteer to exist without them. Your decision and the process of competitive bidding stands to shake loose projects which cannot provide truly innovative, beneficial projects which are cost competitive while upholding the ethical and environmental responsibilities of providing systemic community power. In these difficult times, we need those processes to work at their finest. So I say again, hold the line. For the Regulatory Commission and any other public officials who watch our petition, you may not be thanked or commended, and this may even create enemies. But this can be the nature of upholding the duties and responsibilities embodied in the positions you hold. We cannot afford these costs, financial, environmental, and ethical, any longer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan. Well, that wraps up the world's first ever online or live streamed petition to the PUC. I'm blown away. You know, this was just a small portion of the amount of people who have been organizing to stop Honua and its dirty practices, but we couldn't go on all night. All I can say is I'm very moved, and we're very thankful to the PUC for its ruling. Please stay pa'a, hold steady. It is a reasonable, rational ruling. And if anybody would like to write in support of the PUC's ruling, saying that Honua must compete competitively on a bidding process with other solar companies and other energy companies, you can write to puc@hawaii.gov. And in the subject line, write docket number 2017-0122. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Good night.